I'm Trayvone Mathis, and I am the CEO of Savan. We provide residential design and some commercial design that's usually facilitated through our affiliated architect, right? So that's my advertising. If you need an architect or a designer, definitely call us. But before I get started, I want to introduce my team because they've done a lot of hard work in the community, and they continue to do a lot of hard work for our company, and they deserve some shout out. So we have Isaac Douglas. He's our research applications, and he's our designer. Kevin Brown isn't here. He's our affiliated architect, and he's the one we do the commercial design through. That's me. Katrina Mathis is our finances and account manager. And then back in the back left-hand corner, we couldn't get her picture done, but that's Kamisha Singer, and she runs our property management and community liaison, which is what we're going to be talking about here with Forgotten Spaces. So without further ado, let's talk about it, right? Forgotten Spaces in Toledo, Ohio. Obviously, I'm a design firm, and you'd think maybe that would limit me to the physical. But Forgotten Spaces isn't about the buildings and the things that are run down. It's about the people. We at Savan believe that people make space meaningful, okay? Not space making people meaningful. So with that, I know that sounds pretty vague, but the way people become forgotten is in every city there's spaces that's not profitable to build at. And in those spaces, no one is considering what these people need or what could be good design for them. They're just kind of cookie cuttering it on. So there are areas in Toledo that haven't saw real development in over 30 years. Savan has launched a study, right? We want to dig into the core of some of these places. Forgotten parks that have lost their funding, neglected cultural sites, and ignored neighborhoods, right? We want to find out how these people are living there and how they've developed their culture around these places, because in our experience, we've noticed something that isn't very often publicized and is most often shown in a negative light. And that's how these people have adapted, even though these spaces are ignored, even though there's no funding, right? I'll give you an example. City Park had a basketball league, or has a basketball league. A couple days ago, it's the biggest they've ever had. This is one of those places. There's no funding there, right? They cut the grass and that's about it. The basketball courts aren't maintained and things like that. But the community has came together to make this something significant, right? The basketball league itself isn't what interests me. I looked over and I saw underneath the shelf that there was about 10 guys, right? About 25 to 30 years old, and they were just sitting there. And most people would consider that loitering, right? It's in the news, it's considered loitering. In every reputable standard, it's considered loitering. So I go over there bravely, and I sit and I eavesdrop. And they don't mess with me. They're not doing anything inherently bad. They're actually just talking. They're passing jokes back and forth. They're watching the basketball. This is how they get together. It's like their community roundtable, right? This is how they network. This is how they come together as brothers and sisters of the community. It just happened to be a guy thing. They know every kid that's at that park. They know every kid's parent that lives around that park. They live across the street from the park, right? But it's branded as bad. I'll give you another example. My mother lives in a place that would be considered a neglected neighborhood, a nuisance neighborhood, but she's not inherently unhappy. In fact, she is the happiest she's ever been staying there. You could give her $1 million right now and you'd still have to drag her out. She'd take that $1 million and make a garden in the backyard. She'd just plant money trees. Like, she wouldn't go anywhere. So that's saying something. And we want to find out why that is. We want to dig into these people's culture and get this design thing right for them, not us, right? Understanding culture is only half of the battle, right? When you're dealing with making sure that people are happy and economically well off, it is a fact that money plays a huge part. People can, do whatever they want, but without money to invest in a community, it gets very hard to make sure those communities don't look like this, even though they love it. So what if a design firm came in and designed spaces, but instead of it being a one-off, design a space and leave, that same design firm stayed to fuel positive culture. They dug into the community and they backed it financially and culturally. What we have in mind is to bring money to these communities by building and tapping into the money generated from the renters, from the property that we set up, to reinvest into the renters or the community itself, right? So with that, in a very general statement, our program looks to invest 20% of the property income back to either the renter or the community. So I'm going to challenge you guys with a really quick question, and if no one answers, I'll just pretend it's rhetorical. What if someone, is anyone in here an entrepreneur? Okay, so we have a couple. What is $100 a month to you? Free and clear. I walk up to you on the street, I give you $100. Would you like it? Would you love me? No? Okay, there we go. Yeah, somebody likes money. All right. Well, that's a big deal for most startups, especially those who have ambitions of starting a business, and all it takes is a website and some cards, right? The other thing, what if you're not an entrepreneur? What if you're a single mother with a child that's going off to college? Like, what is $100 to that person? That's bills, that's gas money, right? That's paying for books and parts of your classes. Every month, as soon as the first hits, there goes your $100. And then there's one other person. What if you don't want to do either of those things? What if you just want to sit there, right? You don't qualify for any of those things in the program. What happens to the money? Well, it goes to the neighborhood committee that we set up to reinvest in the community. At the end of the month, it may only be $1,200, right? Some good neighborhoods, it might be $2,400. But what is that to a neighborhood that never gets anything? That's a festival, where a festival never was. So it's definitely a big deal. Now, before I move on, I'd like to open it up to questions really quick. Does anything about that draw up any questions from you? Does anyone have any questions about that program? I really need some, so just anything you have.
So, Trayvone, is the idea the house is built is to move someone in there, to understand correctly, move someone in there who has a plan or an idea for a community building type of business? Is that what you're looking to do?
Savan has two plans. One is to develop existing dilapidated properties back to their original state to bring up the beautification of the neighborhood and bring families in to stay there for as long as they want, and if they want to participate in the program, they can. There's no registration or anything. And two, to build new properties in the places that the land bank tears down, and those are specifically geared towards 23-year-olds to 24-year-olds who have a plan, who want to start a business, right? So you come in, the space is not designed for a whole family. It's designed for 3 people to stay there. It's great. I'll show you guys next. But they will qualify for that program, and hopefully they'll move on and someone else can come in and you create a cycle in that neighborhood of positive economic movement. Any other questions? Okay, no questions, I'm gonna move on. So this is Savan's vision, right? We wanna change the idea of a design firm. We wanna change what design firms are doing. And we wanna move them from one-off solutions to a family incubator, right? We wanna stand behind the families, the boys and girls in this neighborhood and any other neighborhood that would allow us to come in. And we wanna make sure that they have a path towards economic success. Now that's a big deal when you're talking about a place that doesn't have a high profit margin, right? Savan's doing this at the expense of our profit. Even though we are a for-profit company, our main mission is to develop these economic pathways. In 2018, we hope to launch another LLC, and in 2019, we have another LLC behind that. I'm gonna keep that secret, that's for our investors. If you'd like to know more, there's breakout groups, and I'll explain the whole thing. But what this does is it provides not only an idea, but it provides jobs, real concrete paths to some form of economic success. And since we're an incubator, when these people come to us with their business ideas that they're already getting discount because we're supporting them just for being here, right? We want to take an interest in what you have going on. We want to take an interest in your idea. So that's Savan, that's Savan's vision. And I like to, wrong way. So just imagine where once there was a neglected house. As you drive by, there's a brand new property, and that's a economic generator for your neighborhood. And that's all I got. That's Savan Design. You can follow us on Facebook. You can follow us on Twitter. Our website is www.savan.com. And if you saw us on Facebook and that's how you found the event, you can find all of that there. Cool? Thank you.